Hello, good evening, fellow brand partners. Welcome to our webinar again. Good evening. My name is Valin. I'm the country manager of VeMMA Malaysia Sdn Bhd, and I'm happy that we meet again in this beautiful night. And before we invite Dr. Abraham to the room for tonight's presentation, we would like to take this opportunity to wish everyone a happy Mid-Autumn Festival, happy Mooncake Festival, and happy Lantern Festival. And last but not least, 中秋节快乐. Well, with the festival, we all take lots of mooncake, and you know that nowadays the mooncake is all in beautiful shapes and it's colorful, all right? And we know that they are all sweet. Well, we enjoyed the video clips just now, which gave us a very good clue, but I'm sure Dr. Ibrahim will present in a much simplified and detailed one. Without hesitating, we hereby invite Dr. Ibrahim to share with us how VeMMA can help improve diabetes and general health. Good evening, Dr. Ibrahim. Welcome, and you may have the room now.
Good evening, Berlin. Thank you very much for the introduction. Good evening to the audience, and we want to thank you again for being with us, taking time out to listen to what we have to say. Before I start, let me wish all those who are celebrating the Mooncake Festival happy Mid-Autumn Festival this year. The topic that we have selected is something that is very common now, and the incidence of diabetes has increased tremendously. Any statistics from any body, they all come out with a lot of figures, but the bottom line is it has increased, you can say, astronomically. And this is not restricted to just one country. Traditionally, the Chinese in China have the lowest incidence of diabetes in the world. Unfortunately, the latest statistics which came out about 2 weeks ago shows 1/3 of the world diabetics are in China. This is amazing. So as you can see, this is very important. And let's look at this. As usual, what I will do is give you a quick overview of this problem, and then we can spend some time answering questions so that we can address your concerns rather than me giving a scientific presentation here. Now, if I told you that as we get older, our memory goes down, this is something that all of us experience. In fact, when it comes to memory, you don't have to wait till old age. Our memory begins to go down even much earlier. The thing we notice is people grow a little smaller, become a little smaller. This is due to a loss in muscle mass. There is some density of the bone that is lost. Though the body fat decreases, the body fat percentage in relationship to the weight increases as we get older. Okay? And then the libido, the sexual feelings come down because our hormones decline. And of course, as we get older, energy levels go down. So for the same work that we have to do, now we have to put in more effort. And that is what is meant by poor exercise tolerance. Have you seen old people coming down the staircase? If they miss one staircase, they almost fall down. When you're younger, you readjust very quickly. That's a clear indication that your reflexes have slowed down. So these are markers for aging process. Now, unfortunately, exactly the same thing happens with another illness called diabetes. So when we look at the aging process and diabetes, we experience the same thing. However, in diabetes, the whole aging process is accelerated. It grows faster. What is diabetes? Unfortunately, nobody knows. The first thing that comes to our mind is, hey, something to do with sugar. Sugar problem is a manifestation of diabetes, not diabetes per se. If we look at the next slide, we can say that diabetes affects all the organs in the body. In fact, it affects all the organs body in the sense that now some people are defining diabetes as a disease of the circulatory system. However, in spite of the fact that it can affect all cells and organs, it seems to have a special liking for eye, heart and kidney. And I'm sure many of you have seen diabetic patients with eye problems, but to go for laser treatment, cataract and so on, diabetics who have heart problems. About 20 years ago in this country, in Malaysia, 1/3 of the diabetics were found out to be diabetic after their first heart attack. Now, what about the kidney? Same thing. About 20 years ago, there was a sudden increase in kidney failure patients, and they found a large number of them had diabetes which was not being treated or being treated inadequately. Now, if diabetes affects all the organs in the body, why this particular 3 organs? Now, these 3 organs are very sensitive, very important for life. They allow the flow of sugar into their cells so that they are never short of energy. In someone who is suffering from diabetes, this sugar flow is not regulated properly in the cells, and these 3 particular organs are at risk. Now, to understand what happens when sugar happens, let's look at the next slide. Okay, we all know that when we have diabetes, you can get gangrene, you can get heart attack, you can get dementia, mentally people grow old much faster, many effects. But the very first thing that manifests is increase of sugar in the blood. Many people feel or think that you get sugar in the urine first and now it has spread to the blood. Actually, it's the other way around. The first increase is in the blood, and therefore the body finds a way to reduce it by putting it out in the urine. So if you have sugar in your urine, your blood sugar levels are pretty high, and they have been high for a long time. So the first manifestation of this disease called diabetes is increase in blood sugar, which can be done, which can be found out only by doing a blood test. So if you are 40 and above, it's good to do your blood sugar every year just to find out where you stand. Okay, to understand this sugar flow, we need to look at how this is utilized in the body. If you look, there are 3 players involved. One is glucose, the second one is the cell, and of course the cell varies according to the organ, but this is a sample of a cell. Now, what happens is, the cell, it has to go through certain pathways along this area or along this area. These areas receive the glucose and they are called receptors. They get into the cell and the cell will convert the glucose into energy. But when it tries to get into the receptor, through the receptor, it has to be allowed in by a contractor called insulin. Insulin is a hormone that is produced by an organ sitting right behind your stomach. So we need glucose, we need insulin to persuade the receptor to open up so that the glucose can go into the cell. Okay, now let's look at what can go wrong. You could have not enough glucose. Now, this is very uncommon in Malaysia, but let's say you were caught somewhere, you meal and you missed it, you are under a lot of stress, your blood sugar goes down because you did not get enough food. Very rare. The second reason is you have enough of glucose, it's not getting into the cell, and it is because you don't have enough insulin. If you don't have enough insulin, the glucose doesn't go in, so it stays in the blood. So the glucose or the sugar level in the blood goes up. When sugar level in the blood goes up, your cell is actually starving. So when the glucose in the blood goes up, the cell is starving, you will feel like taking something sweet. Now, when people come to check their blood sugar and they are not known to be a diabetic, for the first time they find out it is a bit high, we start giving excuses. Like, doctor, yesterday I had a lot of durian. I think that's why today is a bit high. And actually what has happened is, because your glucose level is high, you probably went for the durian because something sweet. See? Okay? So any amount of sugar that you take, your body is supposed to bring it down to normal. If it doesn't bring it down to normal within a few hours, you have a problem. Okay, so you may not have enough insulin. But then again, the cell can be a little stubborn. The receptors will say, no, I will not let you in spite of enough insulin. So the body, to persuade the cell, has to produce more insulin. The receptors have become resistant to the insulin, so the presence of a larger amount of insulin will allow the glucose to go in. Now what's the problem with that? The problem is if you have too much insulin, insulin excess creates its own problem. Excess insulin can up your cholesterol level, your uric acid level, and start blockage of your blood vessels. So everything has to be right. You must have the right amount of glucose in the blood, right amount of insulin, and your cells must be very receiving. As we get older, the insulin doesn't work as well as before. The cell receptors doesn't work as well as before. So you get an increase in insulin and you get a resistant cell. In adult diabetes, many times you find not only increased sugar but also increased insulin. Now this is called what is called type 2. I don't know why they call it type 2. This is the first one we discovered. It should be called type 1, but they call it type 2 or adult onset. Now when you don't have any insulin, and this can happen in some infections and some other problems which appears in early age. So young people who get diabetes get this type where there is no insulin. Now if there is no insulin, then you have to replace it with insulin and they have to go on injection right away. These are the young diabetics and they are called type 1. Okay, so now we understand the relationship of all this. Now let's look how this is presented in the clinical setting. You go to a clinic to check up, you will find that your blood sugar is high. If your blood sugar is high, then you have a problem. It could be an increase in inadequate insulin. That means not enough insulin, insulin that doesn't seem to work that well. Okay. Okay, my blood sugar, as you mentioned, when the sugar level goes up, you pass more urine, you put out the body attempts to reduce the sugar by producing more urine. So what is the problem? I leave it at that. I eat what I want. I just carry on. The problem is this. Everything in the body has a range. It must vary from a certain figure to a certain figure. If it is below that figure, problem. If it is above the upper limit, again problem. So we must stay within this safe range. So when your blood sugar level goes up and when your insulin level goes up, it causes inflammation of the inner lining of the blood vessels. Now, if you remember, the blood vessels go to all the tissues in the body. In fact, it has been estimated that in an adult, if you put together all the blood vessels in one human being end to end, it would go around the world at the equator twice. You're looking at something like 50,000 miles of blood vessels. When I say blood vessels, I mean artery, veins, lymphatic channels, the whole works. What I'm saying, so intensive that it reaches every tissue, every bit of tissue, every organ. So if the blood vessels are inflamed, the immediate effect would be there will be a slowdown of nutrition diffusing into those tissues and they start aging. This is what we saw at the beginning. So in the brain, it will cause slowing down of the brain. It is well known that dementia comes early for those who have diabetes. Your blood vessels to the muscles will be slower and smaller, and therefore your muscular bulk will come down. Your blood vessels to your internal organs, liver, heart, kidney, will be also slowed down, and therefore those organs will start shrinking, which is what happens in old age, but here it will get a little faster. So inflammation of blood vessels in diabetes is the main culprit. So you need to keep your sugar levels within normal limits. If you allow the blood sugar to just stay up, now what happens is, when your sugar levels are up, you don't feel anything. And this is the danger. Many people feel that, yeah, this is going to cause some problems, but it's going to be minor, and it's going to be a few years down the road, and so on. No, you need to be very aggressively looking at sugar levels. It would be interesting to note that the blood vessels that are furthest from the heart will start closing down first. That's why in diabetics you don't get gangrene of the hands. You get gangrene of the feet first because they are the furthest from the heart. So the inflammation begins to cause stickiness of the blood vessels and will start forming small clots, will close off the distant small vessels and starting from there into the bigger vessels. So early stage of gangrene, which is a complication of diabetes, starts in the feet. Now, you don't have to wait for gangrene. If you, even without gangrene, the closure begins and your blood supply decreases, you are going to be slower, your sensation in the feet will be less, the ability to walk around, move around will be less, and diabetics who are elderly, you will notice they walk with quite a bit of difficulty in balancing themselves. Somebody has to be around to hold them. Okay? So the basic problem here is inflammation of blood vessels, and that really whacks all the organs. So you've got to be very careful in maintaining your sugar levels down to normal levels. Now, what are the complications of? Now, once you get clogged blood vessels, you get decreased function of all the organs, then those organs will reduce function. One area that we don't realize is a diabetic has poor digestion. The stomach is an organ, blood supply decreases to it, less gastric juices, they will be able to process less amount of food. And what they process may not be processed completely. So diabetics suffer from malnutrition due to two reasons. Because they're diabetics, they've been told you have to cut down this, cut down that. So they eat less. On top of that, the digestion is poor. And so what happens? Their disease, the aging process just speeds up. This is just only one organ. Take lung example. You will find, you ask some elderly diabetics to take a deep breath, the chest will not increase more than an inch. Their ability to expand lungs, or what we call the compliance of the lungs, goes down. One of the earliest tests for aging is to check the compliance of the lung. If you can take a really deep breath that stretches for say 15 to 20 seconds, you are in pretty good shape. But if you inspire for only about 2 or 3 seconds, you are growing old faster. So basic problem, inflammation of the blood vessels leading on to clogged blood vessels. Since blood vessels goes to all the organs, their respective functions will go down. Wow, this sounds terrible. What is this diabetes? What is the cause for this? You will be surprised. We don't know. Hey, are you sure? Everybody says overeating and this and that. No, no. You look around, you will find a lot of people overeat, they don't have diabetes. So what is the cause? We really don't know. That doesn't mean we don't know anything. We don't know the direct cause, but we know a number of associated causes. If you look at the associated causes, it simply means this. Let's say we all go to Port Dickson for a picnic, and somebody says while we are at the seashore, pointing to one area, don't go and swim in that area. Why? Because that area somehow many people die. So you better swim in some other area. And they tell you, we don't know the reason, but that area, there's some danger there. There's an associated cause. We don't know the exact cause, but we know the associated causes. In diabetes, we don't know the exact cause, but the list that you see here are associated with this very strongly. If you are overweight, not all factors have diabetes, but you will get diabetes in time to come. A large number of overweight people will develop diabetes. The second thing is those who are not that active physically. It's not just exercise. They don't do much physical work at all. Have a higher chance of getting diabetes. Then those who eat a lot. Now there are people who eat a lot. They eat vegetables all the time. It seems to be okay. But if you eat very high calorie diet, which of course leads, if you take a high calorie diet, you're going to be overweight. So you are at higher risk levels. Now stress is a little complicated. They find that a little bit of stress is good for everybody. Makes you perform better, stimulates your metabolism, keeps you active. But when there's too much stress, that overwhelms you with a lot of harmful hormones in the body, which raises the blood sugar, and if that continues for some time, you will get diabetes. I have seen patients who have developed high blood sugar at a time when they were looking after a loved one who was ill and then died over a period of 2 months, 3 months. And again, the blood sugar settled down after the person died. Once the stress was over, it came back to normal. Now, there are infections that can cause diabetes. Not that common, but when you get it, it can be very devastating. A simple one is mumps. Now, we are supposed to get mumps when we are children. If you get it as an adult, there are some complications. It tends to infect in the female the ovaries, and in the males the testes. A colleague of mine who's a doctor got mumps at the age of mid-30s, and his testes were swollen because of, now this is serious because this kind of infection of mumps, it's a virus, when it hits the testes you could become sterile. Another organ that it hits may be the pancreas. So this infection, if it hits the pancreas, it will cause diabetes. And after the infection is over, the cells that produce insulin may have been damaged for good, and therefore you will be short of insulin. Okay, so certain infections, these are known ones. One of the latest things in diabetes is unknown viral infections, which are very mild. Something like a flu that comes and goes, you don't notice it, you get a little bit of stomach upset and knocks out a few cells in the pancreas that produce insulin. So later down the road, you could get diabetes. Now, if these are the associated causes, it is good to make sure that we avoid this as much as we can. Now, when you avoid that, you can prevent diabetes. Or if you have a strong family history, you can still postpone the diabetes to a much later. Now, 20, 30 years ago, you didn't have so many complications of diabetes because people got diabetes at the age of 55, 60 after they retire. Before the complications can come, they die. They have diabetes for 10 years, 15 years. Complications come after 20, 25 years. So before the complications come, they have already died of old age. But today, people are getting diabetes at a much younger age. So we are going to live long. Someone who is 40 plus got diabetes is easily, according to our national lifespan status, about 30 years to go. So he has to be even more careful about controlling the diabetes. Now, if you ask me what are the basic things that you need to do, I would list it as this. This sounds very simple, but it's not really. First thing, you need to sleep well. A lot of studies have been done on people who work shift duties. This week night duty, next week morning duty, third week afternoon duty. After a while, not very long, 2 to 5 years, they develop high blood sugar, cholesterol, heart disease, and above all, they develop depression. Not everyone, but a much larger number than people who work regular hours. So if you do not get good sleep, even if you're working regular hours, if you don't sleep well, there's a higher chance that you will get this. I think some of you may have heard about sleep apnea. It was not serious those. Now we know if you don't sleep well, you keep snoring, you're not getting enough oxygen, you're going to develop heart disease, diabetes, blood pressure, cholesterol. Are you sleeping enough? At least 6 hours of quality sleep. Are you able to get up in the morning refreshed? Or do you get up feeling that you could have slept a little bit more? It has been found sleeping well is one major contribution to reducing excess body weight. If you do not sleep enough, you get a yearning for fast food, for high calorie food. Wow, it has got a far-reaching effect. So sleeping well is very important. The next thing is eating reasonably. When you have diabetes or cholesterol or heart disease, the advice you get is don't eat this, don't eat that, don't eat this. Now, that's not wrong, but the number one thing should be eat less of everything, even the good food. Overall, people in this part of the world eat at least 25% more than what they need. So the first thing that we need to do is eat less. If you eat less, you can eat almost everything you want, even if you have diabetes. Okay? So that's why I put it as eat reasonably. chew your food. In this part of the world, we don't chew well and we swallow it quickly. We end up consuming more food than we need. The third thing would be something related to stress, but it's anxiety. What is stress? Basically anxiety. The moment we get up, we go out to work, right on the road, we are anxious. The car coming in front of us, then we overtake it. We come to the traffic light, we are anxious that we want to beat the red light. Anxiety, anxiety. We go to the office, what is awaiting there? Anxiety. Oh, boss came up. Oh, he came earlier than me. Okay, anxiety again. There's something outstanding from yesterday. Oh, that guy already called before I could reply. My God, oh, anxiety again. So it's anxiety all the way, which leads to the stress. To reduce anxiety, you have to look at what are the things that cause anxiety, either solve it, and if it is some situation that you can't solve, avoid situation. So number one thing is to reduce anxiety. In addition to all this, for the body or every cell in the body to function properly, it's not good enough to get enough food. You must get full nutrition. Nutrition means vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, protein, essential fats, all the basic stuff that the body needs to repair, rejuvenate, and grow if you're young. So full nutrition is very important, especially if you have not slept well, you have a lot of stress, your nutritional requirement goes up. So it is incumbent on you to get full nutrition every day without having to overload your stomach with food. Okay. Let me go back to the slide again. Sleep well. This is entirely under your control. Eat reasonably. Nobody can force you. You have to decide to do that. Reduce anxiety. Again, it is up to you. But when it comes to full nutrition, you need to get outside help. We are all busy. We don't grow our food. We don't prepare our food unless there's a large family at home and there's somebody cooking all the time. Even then, you got to plan. So I'm going to focus a little bit on the full nutrition. What is full nutrition? Now, in today's world, because of the increased workload, we need more of all the three that is mentioned here. We need all the vitamins. They are very, very important in performing the biochemistry of the cells that we have in the body. Minerals. A lot of our food is grown on mineral depleted soils. I don't know how many of you like Ipoh pomelo. Ipoh pomelo was sweet. That's how it became famous. Nowadays it's no more sweet. So it is used only for prayers. And I'm sure the gods also are not finding it tasty anymore. Why? Because it's been grown over and over again on the same soil, not enough minerals. Minerals are very, very important. That is why any vegetable that's grown on a virgin soil, you get huge sized vegetables and they taste so much better. All the minerals that are found in the plants are required by the body. We didn't know this because some of them are required only in 1 in a billion parts. Now we have means to measure it and we know that we need close to 60 plus minerals from the plant for our bodies to function at optimum levels. Now, due to the increased stress in modern living, especially for diabetics, as we mentioned, the aging process is speeding up. Now, that is mediated by a process called free radical activity. The only way to neutralize or slow it down is to take antioxidants. Now, our requirement for antioxidants per day is quite high, especially in modern times. Now, there are mechanisms within the body to do that, and studies show that it doesn't quite measure up to what we really need in present day environment. And we need to take a supplement that provides that antioxidant. Okay? I have an answer for you here. This talk is organized by VeMMA, and we have such a product that's available for your consideration. It is a liquid product which has been designed by a physician qualified both in modern and traditional medicine. It is one of the few products, probably one of the 2 or 3 of the 10,000 nutritional products in the US that has been clinically tested and found to be beneficial, and this is called VeMMA. It's a liquid, multi-mineral, multivitamin, antioxidant food supplement. There are no herbs inside this, no controversy. Now, we have in one serving all the vitamins A, B, C, D, E. That's not 5, that's 12. Because B as a host of vitamins, that's B1, 2, 5, 6, 12, so on. So we have a range of all the full spectrum vitamins that you need in a day, 100% of what you need in a day in one serving. This small glass that you see here comes with every pack of VeMMA that you purchase. This is a glass bottle that gives you a graduated measurement of how much you are drinking, and one serving gives you 100% of your daily requirement of vitamins A, B, C, D, E. It also provides you up to 65 minerals which extracted from plants. It also provides antioxidants. Now, these antioxidants are taken from green tea. Let me start with the lowest. Now, green tea used to be consumed very highly by the Japanese. Now, how this came into prominence was they looked at the Japanese, and the Japanese are one of the highest smokers per person. They smoke so much that it's a surprise that they don't have chimneys. Now, but they have low incidence of lung cancer. A study of that found that consumption of green tea, which was a part of Japanese culture, that seems to give some protection. And it was finally narrowed down to the antioxidants found in green tea. But today, a lot of people have started drinking green tea, the demand has gone up, and what has happened is we don't get good green tea. So if you're relying on green tea, please make sure that you get good quality green tea. The next one is aloe vera. Now, aloe vera has been in the market for 30 over years, but it has a tradition going back centuries. Someone that is around so long obviously has many good qualities. Now, the antioxidants in this preparation is also obtained from aloe vera. Now, mangosteen is actually a newcomer. Over the last 10 years it has become popular, and they find that this fruit, including the skin, the pericarp, has a lot of antioxidants, some of which are not found in the other two. So you have a combination here, and this provides more than 2,700 units of antioxidant, which is usually measured by ORAC, ORAC value. Okay, so we have a liquid product that combines all that is necessary to provide the cell for its health. Now remember, this alone is not going to prevent your diabetes. It's not going to cure it. You must put into practice what I mentioned a few slides earlier of, let me show that slide again. Associated causes must be corrected. Okay. In addition to that, if you take all this nutrition, it will definitely slow down, postpone, and if you're lucky, it will prevent it. Now we have also prepared another product, a more fun product. Some people like to drink Coca-Cola, Pepsi. How about having this VeMMA in a Pepsi or a Coca-Cola preparation while still retaining all the nutrition that you see here and giving you one supplement which increases your energy output over a period of time, not just 1 hour, maybe up to 6 hours. We have such a product. We call it VERV. Now this comes in cans. Just chill and drink it, and you have a very strong energy drink which supplies your daily nutrition that we mentioned here. Amazing, isn't it? This is something that you need to try out. Maybe you want to buy both this because you don't want to drink a fizzy drink every day. You can take your regular supplement of VeMMA, substitute it when you feel that you want to have a little bit of fun drinking it, and this would be ideal. Now I'm going to stop here, and I want to thank you for being patient all this while, and I'm going to take some questions because I'm sure very specific questions. In fact, some of them have already come in. Let me go into that right away. The first one, my family has diabetes history and I have diabetes. But after I taste VeMMA, it is so sweet. I want to know, is it alright for me to take this because the level is 12? Wow. If your sugar level is 12, your diabetes control. Someone has diabetes should have sugar levels 7 and below before taking food, and after food should be below 10. Now, so see your doctor. Make sure that you are doing all that you do and take VeMMA. Why? Because VeMMA has very low calories. Now, a diabetic requires about 1,500 calories a day. One serving of VeMMA is hardly 35 calories. Okay? Now, when you have such a low calorie content, this is not going to affect you. But then when I drink VeMMA, it's so sweet. That's right. Now, most sweet things are high calories. But sweetness and high calorie is not related. So some things may be sweet, but the calorie may be low. That is why you have some sweetness. That's very sweet. But that one is hardly any calories in it. So if you're a diabetic, you can take VeMMA. If your sugar level is high while taking VeMMA, it is due to other reasons, not because of VeMMA. The second question I have is, just confirm diagnosis with diabetes, but I'm not sure if I am type 1 or type 2. How can I confirm it? Now you need to speak to your doctor. There is a blood test that they will do. The blood test they will do is check on your insulin levels. And depending on the result, the doctor will chart your treatment. Both my parents are diabetic. I am overweight. How can I prevent diabetes for myself? Okay. If both your parents are diabetic, you're already high risk. you should take your excess weight very seriously. In fact, the government should have regulations outlawing overweight for people who tend to be overweight. So you should attack your overweight problem very vigorously. Don't take it lightly. Cut down your weight. Now you have to do it by modifying your diet, having better sleep, cut down your stress, and do some physical activity. Next question I have here is, doctor said the sugar in my urine is high, but I am yet to be confirmed it's diabetic. How to reduce the sugar? If your urine sugar is high, let me tell you, you are a bad diabetic. Your blood sugar must be quite high. So please check your blood sugar and see your doctor about it. I hear that after injecting with insulin, there is no way to get better. Is it true? You will be treated with insulin injection because you're type 1, because you do not have insulin. If you are type 2 and you require insulin, your diabetes has become so severe, it is responding only to insulin. Now, how to get better? If you have been diabetic for that long, there are changes in your cells and your organs which may not be reversed. So, should I not bother? Not really. You should take very good care, because diabetes is just like the aging process. As time goes on, the diabetes is going to get worse. If yours is already bad, if you take good care, you might be able to stop it at that level. You may make a small reversal, which is good in the long run. So yes, you may not be able to take away the insulin injection, but you must put in all the precautions. My nephew is born with diabetes. Any chance for him to heal when he grows up? Now, if a child is born with diabetes, there is a lot of follow-up that is needed. He may grow up, and if he is careful with the diet, he may come out of it. I know a colleague who is a doctor, lady doctor. From childhood, she was diabetic. But at the age of her early 30s, she decided to go on a strict diet, exercise, and amazingly, she has gotten off the insulin completely. I haven't seen this happen very often, but depending on the person and how bad the condition is, there is a chance that even if you don't get out of the insulin thing, you will be able to reduce your insulin level to a respectable level, you can say. Okay, next question. Obesity. My friend is obese and got a stroke at the age of 35 due to diabetes. He can't eat well now. Will VeMMA help? He can't eat well now. This may be a positive development for him because he is fat. So he will reduce his weight. Now, in trying to reduce your weight, if you reduce your food, you still need your normal nutrition. Now, VeMMA will help you to give you the nutrition without the calories. So I would suggest something like this. Take a double serving of VeMMA, because this guy probably has not got his nutrition for a long time. So it will help him to top up the overdraft of the nutrition that he's been missing. What are the best fruits for diabetes? Wow. Fruits are natural sugar. Unfortunately, it is sugar. So diabetics should not be taking fruits. However, there are fruits that are not that sweet. For example, apple, pear. Diabetics can take half an apple, half a pear, a slice of papaya, fine. But fruits like grapes, oranges, pineapple, mango, durian, rambutan, no. All these are very high in sugar. Next question. My sugar level is 9. Doctor says it's at the borderline, but I love work. Can I take at least 1 can per day? Now, 9 is, yes, borderline. By the way, work is about 75 calories. As I mentioned earlier, we require at least 1,500 calories per day. Now, if you are getting a day's nutrition with 75 calories, that's a good bargain. Yes, you can take work. Here is a question about pregnancy. During my pregnancy, I have diabetes. Now, this happens because some people do develop diabetes during pregnancy, okay? But after I gave birth, I'm normal. Will I be easily diagnosed when I'm older? The fact that you develop diabetes during pregnancy is a state of stress. It's a metabolic stress. So you have a tendency to develop diabetes. So even if your sugar is back to normal after delivery, you're lucky, you've got an early warning sign. So you need to be very careful with your food, with your body weight, physical and so on. So if you just start that process now, you may never get diabetes. Yes, and make sure that your nutrition is on par with your requirement. You've just delivered, you may be breastfeeding, all the more reason you need not normal nutrition but high nutrition. I would suggest 2 servings of VeMMA per day. What is the best serving of VeMMA? As I have diabetes for the past 10 years with a reading of 10. Okay. Yeah, this question, I just answered the dosage part of it. Those who have diabetes or not been taking any supplements are usually pretty low on their nutritional status. You should be taking 2 servings per day at least 2-3 months before you switch on to a regular daily serving. Wow, there's a lot of questions today. Good, because I think this is the kind of information you are looking for. I could go on and on the scientific part of diabetes, which may not be impacting what you want to know. Okay, here's the next question. I have diabetes for 2 years. Doctor wants me to avoid all the fizzy drink. But I found that work gives me energy. Can I consume it? Work is fizzy, and that gives the wrong impression that it may be high calorie. Even the commercial fizzy drinks are now much lower calorie than before. So how about that? Now they find that the type of sugars added to commercial fizzy drinks spikes your blood sugar, which brings about a high level of insulin. And then your sugar goes down to below normal before it comes to normal. This kind of spike is not good in the long run. Now, so work, which not only gives you a daily requirement of vitamins, minerals and antioxidants, but also has sugars that sustain your energy level or blood sugar levels at normal levels over a period of 4 to 6 hours without the spike. So even if you're diabetic, work is fine. You can still enjoy a fizzy energy drink without having to worry about sugar spikes. The next question, my sugar level is 8 before meal. I control my meals very well, but the sugar level still didn't decrease. How to improve? Excuse me. Now, this is not a much talked about part of it. Certain foods for certain people seem to increase the blood sugar more than for others. Take white bread. For some people, they find that white bread increases the blood sugar faster than sugar itself for some people. So if you are careful with your meals, when the sugar level keeps going up, you need to have a diary over a period of a week. Note down the food that you take and the sugar level that comes after that. So you may not be able to tolerate certain types of food which is otherwise normal for other people. So this requires a bit of work, a bit of planning on your part, and identify these types of food and remove them from your diet. What would be the recommended daily serving for the customer with high level of sugar? I would suggest VemmaA 2 servings per day, 1 serving in the morning, 1 at night. Meanwhile, they must do everything else that they are supposed to do. There are some people who you recommend VemmaA, they think we can give up on everything else. No medicine, eat anything they want, take VemmaA, it will be okay. No. VemmaA is not magic. It works in a scientific way and you have to follow the proper protocols. Next question. My auntie is 60 years old and a diabetic patient and taking medication. How should I recommend her into consuming VemmaA? In what way does it benefit her? If you are 60 and you are going to be very low on energy due to the aging process plus the diabetes. Now I would suggest again 2 servings. How will it benefit her? She will notice in a week's time that her general sense of well-being is much better. That is the very first sign that they get. Now they have to be very careful with the diet, just like before. I cannot stress that strong enough. Continue with the patients. If the sugar levels drop, let the doctor adjust the medication. You don't stop the medication. So in what way does she benefit her? She gets all the vitamins that she requires. She will get the minerals, the antioxidants, which will slow down the aging process. Any more questions?
Yeah.
Oh. I have one last one here. My grandmother, wow, 75 years old, tried work and found that it helps her constipation. She's also a diabetic patient for past 30 years. What is the serving for VemmaA and work? This is interesting. Now, as we get older, and with diabetes, the circulation in the large bowels is also decreased. And therefore, the large bowel movement will also be decreased. Many old people don't complain because it's so personal. They have constipation. And sometimes, when they take substances like this, which is a little fizzy, which has got energy ingredients, how does the energy improve? It's not only for the muscle. The energy is also increased for the digestive system. So it may move. This is not an answer for constipation for everyone. But in her case, if the increased energy is channeled quite a bit to the large intestine, that's very good. So what is the serving for VemmaA and work? Now she could be 1 serving of VemmaA in the morning and 1 serving of work in the afternoon, which gives her energy level 3 late afternoon. At the same time, in that verb, she gets a second serving of VeMMA. Remember, this is not just an energy drink. It is also a drink that provides you with a full nutrition. Okay.
Right, I think that's all our brand partners. I think tonight that's all for all the questions for Dr. Answer. Again, I would like to take this opportunity to thank Dr. Abraham for a wonderful and simple presentation, and I'm sure that our brand partners will have a much clearer knowledge on diabetics. Thank you again for joining us in tonight's webinar. We will see you again to the next time. Good night and stay healthy. Goodbye. However, you may stay on to enjoy the video clips after all. Thank you and good night.
Watch diabetes videos at clearlyhealth.com.
As a person with diabetes, it is important for you to care for your feet properly every day. If you have nerve damage, known as neuropathy, you may not feel pain if you injure your feet. Because of this, an infection can develop without warning. Decreased blood circulation slows healing. This can result in foot ulcers, which can eventually lead to amputation of the feet or legs. Prevent foot injuries by wearing shoes that fit well and have good support. Don't walk barefoot. Check your shoes before putting them on for small pebbles, worn areas, or rough spots. Avoid sandals, pointed toes, high heels, and plastic shoes. Always wear socks in your shoes. Socks are better if they do not have seams or mended areas. It is important to check your feet every evening for cuts, sores, red spots, swelling, or infected toenails. If you have any of these problems and they do not heal within 24 hours, it is important to contact your healthcare provider. If you have trouble seeing the bottom of your feet, try using a mirror. Before bathing or showering, test the water to make sure it is not too hot by using a thermometer or your elbow. If you use a thermometer, between 90 and 95 degrees Fahrenheit or between 32 and 35 degrees Celsius is safe. Water that is too hot can damage the skin. Do not soak your feet, as they can become dry and cracked, causing infection. Be sure to dry your feet well using a patting rather than a rubbing motion. Be careful to dry between your toes and use talcum powder or cornstarch to keep the skin between your toes dry. Apply lotion to the top and bottom of your feet to keep them soft. Too moist. Thick or hardened skin on the toes and bottom of the feet, called corns or calluses, can appear from skin rubbing against bony areas of the foot. If you have corns or calluses, it is important to talk with your doctor about how to remove them. Do not use corn plasters, corn and callus removers, or blades, as these may lead to infections. Trim your toenails straight across once a week. Smooth sharp edges with an emery board or nail file. Contact your doctor if they become thick or yellowed or begin to curve and grow into the skin. Avoid using heating pads, hot water bottles, or campfires to warm your feet, and carefully check your feet during cold temperatures for frostbite. Keeping your blood glucose levels in your target range through healthy eating and daily exercise can prevent or decrease nerve damage caused by diabetes. Daily foot care, comfortable shoes, and having your healthcare provider examine your feet at least once a year can help minimize serious long-term damage caused by diabetic neuropathy.
For our full library of healthcare videos, go to clearlyhealth.com.
Hollywood, image may not be everything, but it's a lot. How you're perceived is going to affect your next paycheck, your next job, even something as silly as an invitation to a premiere. There's lots of actors like myself who have gone public and are very open about their diabetes. Others have chosen not to go public with it and for fear that, their public image will be tainted. Well, today we're going to take a walk down into that cold, cruel world and take a look at diabetes in Hollywood. After you've made it in this town, you get a star on Hollywood Boulevard's Walk of Fame. You'll be surprised at how many of these stars had or have diabetes. James Cagney, maybe the most beloved tough guy ever to swagger on the silver screen. James Cagney had diabetes. Jack Benny. From 1950 to 1965, his TV show was a can't-miss Sunday night event. Jack Benny had diabetes. Jackie Gleason. He created one of TV's most memorable characters, Brooklyn bus driver Ralph Cramden. Jackie Gleason had diabetes. Elvis Presley, the king, the kid from Tupelo, Mississippi, who sang, swiveled his hips, and became the world's first rock and roll superstar. Elvis Presley had diabetes. Unfortunately, the first we hear of many celebrities' diabetes is after they've gone, when it's safe. Mary Tyler Moore has never been quiet about her diabetes, and it's never dimmed her star power. She starred in 2 classic situation comedies. First as Laura Petrie on The Dick Van Dyke Show, and then as TV news producer Mary Richards. Mary Tyler Moore has diabetes, and she's played a leading role in many diabetes causes. Another TV icon, American Bandstand's Dick Clark, recently acknowledged that he has diabetes. 2 other TV stars, designing woman Jean Smart and alias secret agent Victor Garber, have diabetes. Elizabeth Taylor has been a major Hollywood star for decades, her beauty and glamour matched by genuine talent. She's won 2 Oscars. Elizabeth Taylor has diabetes. Halle Berry doesn't have a star on Hollywood Boulevard yet. Halle Berry has diabetes. While building her Hollywood career, she's rarely talked about it, but that's changed in recent years. Speaking at a star-studded fundraiser for diabetes, she called her disease a gift. And while Halle Berry believes diabetes in a way helped her, couldn't it also be a hindrance? I asked someone who manages Hollywood careers, including my own. So what we're doing today is talking to people about diabetes in Hollywood. Do you think that's a thing that people have to worry about?
An actor would not want to give someone a reason and not to hire them. I haven't had a negative experience where someone's lost me time or money because of having the disease, but I'm sure there are incidences of that, and if somebody knows about that, it might affect their decision to hire you, someone like you. Could be.
There you have it, the industry point of view. There's just no telling how casting directors and producers will react. I asked actor Sam McMurray about his experience. You'll recognize Sam from Friends or The King of Queens. You've been diabetic for how long?
About 5.5 years. It sucks. I mean, quite honestly. Well, Yeah. But you've lived with it for a long time, and I'm still wrestling with it.
Yeah, but on set, do you wrestle with it? You guys said we're stopping for lunch. Now somebody, said no, we're going to go into overtime. And
one night we're shooting, and I was like, ooh, I'm low. But I was on the set, and I thought, ooh, hang on a second. And there was a nice PA around, and I said, could you give me a Coke? And I certainly don't broadcast that, because it's not particularly, the first thing a director wants to hear. Oh, by the way, he might pass out on you. That's not generally a good thing.
If you have diabetes, it affects every aspect of your life, even for some of the biggest stars in Hollywood. And whether someone decides to go public with it or not is really a personal decision. But whatever you do, you got to take care of your health. That's the most important. All right, I got an audition. I got to go. Bye.
I hope you've enjoyed this D-Life video. I'm Nicole Johnson, host of D-Life TV and a person with diabetes. If you have diabetes or have a loved one with diabetes, there is so much more waiting for you at DLife.com. Get inspired, informed, and connected. Check it out.